Welcome back into HQ Spotlight. While the Notre Dame faithful continue to fight it out in my mentions online, I'm sorry to say, guys, but the bracket is set. It's time to start looking at these games because, like it or not, they are happening a week from today, actually. But right now, we are spotlighting the first game on Saturday. That's at the bottom of your screen between Miami and Texas A&M. So let's welcome on Brandon Marcello and Brad Crawford to help us break down this game. We're going to play a little game of who has the edge. So, Marcello, let's start with Carson Beck or Marcel Reed. Who has the edge?
Yeah, give me Marcel Reed playing at home. You know, Carson Beck has a tendency in some big games and some very crucial moments to turn the ball over. We saw that at Georgia, and we're obviously even seeing that now at Miami. I go back to the Louisville game earlier this season and some other big spots and games they even won, him turning the ball over. I think that he's maybe the better downfield passer at times, and he's probably got some better weapons when you just look at the totality of Malachi Toney and what he can do, not just catching the ball, but also running it out of the backfield when they need it. But I trust Marcel Reed much more in this position, playing there in front of the 12th man. So I give the slight edge to Marcel Reed, who's just been phenomenal for most of this season.
Yeah, I'm giving a slight edge, too, to Marcel Reed over Carson Beck because of the athleticism from a ground perspective that you have to respect with Texas A&M's quarterback. We saw him earlier this fall in September lead Texas A&M to a last-second game-winning drive at Notre Dame, one of the best wins in college football this season. Obviously, Texas A&M was 11-0 before going to Texas, and Marcel Reed had a huge hand in that. Brandon mentioned Carson Beck's turnover issues. Marcel Reed's got 10 interceptions too, and there's a chance that when you pressure a dual threat like Marcel Reed, maybe he makes some mistakes as well. But I think Marcel Reed in this matchup, playing at home, I think he has a slight edge over Carson Beck.
I'm glad that you mentioned that. 6 interceptions in the last 5 games for Marcel Reed, so could potentially see turnovers impact this one, particularly on what the defenses are going to do. So let's go there. Who has the edge, Brad, on defense?
Yeah, the margins are pretty thin here, but I'm going with Miami. We talk about Ruben Bain and some of the pass rush skill that the Hurricanes have. I know Texas A&M leads the country in sacks, number 3 right now in tackles for loss. But Miami gets after you, too, and they were an elite defense in the ACC this season. Obviously did a great job of shutting down Jeremiah Love, a Heisman finalist, in that season-opening win over Notre Dame. You see there the numbers for the Canes are very, very good, the best in the Mario Cristobal era. And also Miami's strong against the run. So you're talking about Reed having to make plays on 3rd down. Miami has 20 takeaways this season to Texas A&M's 9. There's an edge there, and I like Miami on defense.
Yeah, I like Miami just because they're so aggressive. They kind of confuse me with some of their looks. And Corey Heatherman, the new defensive coordinator there, has been just an absolute blast of fresh air for them. As you saw on the screen, 69th to 6th in points per game allowed. The thing that really worries me about Texas A&M's defense is that they put up good numbers, and you watch them in person, you're like, man, this looks like a championship-type caliber defense. But they give up way too many explosive plays. They might shut you down 9 out of 10 plays, but then they'll allow an explosive run or explosive pass. When you look at the numbers here, they are the lowest-rated defense in all of the playoff field in allowing plays of 30 yards or more. They rank tied for 93rd going into this postseason, and I've seen it in person. They were clamping down on Missouri, and then they allow a big run or a big pass. They've been doing that in every single game this season, no matter the opponent. I don't know if it's focus, I don't know if it's scheme, or someone just out scheming them, but every game they give up some big explosive plays, and that's something to watch against this Miami offense that thrives on those big explosive plays with Carson Beck and Malachi Toney.
You have to assume that Shannon Dawson is just circling that stat and realizing that's something that he can certainly exploit. And while we're on the topic of coaching, let's go to coaching. Who has the edge, Brandon?
Well, I give this the Texas A&M staff, and not just Coach Elko, but the entire staff over Miami. And that's because, I hate to say it, we have yet to see Mario Cristobal, obviously, in this type of position. The reason for that is because of his own wrongdoing. We've seen him in late game situations just absolutely fold. We saw it every single year when he's at Miami and even at Oregon. Obviously, the Georgia Tech game comes to mind just a year ago, and Clemson game at some point. Every year there's a big moment down the stretch where he kind of folds. It hasn't quite happened this year. He's just had 2 bad losses. But what happens if this game is down to the wire in the 4th quarter? Do you trust Mario Cristobal in that situation? I don't think anyone out there would tell you that they do, because almost every time it comes down to that, Mario Cristobal ends up making a mistake of some sort. So this being on the road, the pressure's high. Give me Mike Elko and co.
All right, while we're on the subject of Texas A&M, Brandon, your impact player for A&M is Le'Veon Moss. So how will he in the run game particularly be a factor in this game?
If he plays, and that's the reason why I say he's the impact player. He's missed the last 6 games with injury, but there's some hope, some positivity that he'll end up playing here. And if that happens, that adds another depth piece and more explosiveness in that run game that I think A&M has lost at times and has been needing. He's getting closer and closer. That's why, to me, he's a very, very impactful player here. If he returns to the field, I feel much more comfortable with my pick, which we'll get to.
Yeah, me for Miami, unless you've been ignoring weekly highlight packages from the Canes all season, it's got to be Malachi Toney, right? The freshman wideout's got 84 catches, single season record for the Canes. They've used him in the backfield down the stretch a little bit, in the slot, on the outside at wide receiver 1. Malachi Toney does it all for this offense. To be honest with you, he reminds me a lot of former Miami star Devin Hester in terms of his speed, his moves. When he gives you a head fake and you miss that initial tackle, Malachi Toney could take it the distance every time he touches the ball. Brandon alluded to it earlier. Texas A&M has a penchant this season on defense for giving up big plays. Malachi Toney, I think there's going to be 1 or 2 times next weekend where he silences that crowd at Kyle Field.
I have not missed those highlight reels, by the way. They are fun to watch, and he will be a fun player in the postseason. Brandon, you teased your pick. Let's make the people wait just a little bit longer. Brad, who do you have winning this game?
This is my lone first-round upset pick. I'm not a bracketologist, but I think Miami wins this matchup. The line's 3.5. I like Miami to win outright. I know we gave the edge to Marcel Reed at quarterback. I think Carson Beck, he's going to do just enough offensively to get Miami over that hump, and I like the edge defensively to the Canes. If you can shut down Marcel Reed's legs and make him beat you through the air, then that kind of plays into Miami's strength, the back end of that defense, a very talented secondary, future NFL guys back there. So give me Miami moving on as the higher seed playing Ohio State in the second round.
I got Texas A&M going in and covering just barely 28-24, and the reason why I say that's because A&M I think is going to be a little bit more motivated based off the way the regular season ended. Losing on the road against Texas, they ripped away the possibility of them being a #1 team and also getting a first-round bye and an SEC championship game appearance. Also, they're going to be healthy. As I mentioned, Le'Veon Moss, if he returns in the backfield for them, I think that's going to be huge for them and maybe a determining factor in this game. But I think this one will go back and forth. We're going to have highlight reel plays on offense and defense on both sides. These are 2 very well evenly matched teams, but give me the home team with the better coaching down the stretch. Give me the Aggies.
That is what I love to hear. A tease for sure. Winner plays #2 Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve. Brad, Brandon, appreciate your input. These are the odds to win the college football playoff. Ohio State, the favorite to repeat. You got 3 Big Ten teams in the top 4 on the odds boards. We just discussed A&M at +1,800, not giving Miami much of a chance at +2,700. Both teams making their first CFP appearances in school history.